Good evening. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar on early childhood education and opportunities in Australia. Just going to be waiting for a few more to join. I can see some people coming through in the waiting room, which is great. How this will work is we're going to kind of go through some information. I was able to see and check over a lot of your questions from registration, which was great. Thank you so much for asking those questions. We're going to probably get to all of them. If we don't, we'll leave a little bit of time at the end of the session as well for you to answer and get some questions answered live. So we're going to jump right in, and just a brief quick intro to who we are, who's chatting to you tonight. I'm Olivia. I'm based in Ontario, Canada. And my role with ANZ UK is the Canadian Recruitment Manager. So I manage all of North America and sending educators to Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, and supported by a team here on the ground in Canada as well. So really love it. I'm an educator as well, so I actually made the trip and the journey to Australia to teach too. So any specific questions like that we can answer at the end. We have Craig, or Griff, I should say, because I'm not pronouncing the A right because I have a Canadian accent, apparently. Do you want to say a brief intro, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Yeah, of course. Craig, or Griff, I'm originally from England and I moved out to Australia about, I've been coming to 9 years now. As I said, originally a teacher as well, fell into recruitment, loved recruitment, and I've been with ANZ UK for 9 years as well. And I've slowly worked my way up, and now I'm overseeing New South Wales and ACT as a division manager.
Amazing. We're so glad to have you online with us all the way from Australia, and just want to make the note that it is way warmer in Canada than it is in Australia right now. So they're
so cold today.
So cold to your standards. And Victoria, if you want to briefly introduce yourself as well.
I think I sound like an echo here as well, but I'm also an educator. I was a teacher who went and taught down in Australia throughout 2023, moved back and was able to come on in this side. So I'm a global opportunities consultant here, and like Olivia, help educators get over and teach abroad and get to do what I love doing so much. So I'm so happy to be here and excited to help everyone on this journey.
Awesome. So very well placed for any questions or anything specific that you might have, again, towards the end. But before we get too far into everything, what we'll be covering today is just an intro to ANZ UK. Who are we? What is a teaching agency? For us in North America, especially myself going through the process, I wasn't even really familiar with what a teaching agency was. So what we are, who we are, what we do, I should say, why make the move overseas? Why are you all here? Why should this be something that you might want to do? Steps in your journey. So how can you actually make the journey and jump over there? You're going to need to get things like a working holiday visa or a skilled workers visa. So we'll be able to delve into that to entitle you to be able to work overseas, as well as some specific accreditations for your time over there to get you into the schools. Again, locations, very lucky as early childhood educators. You kind of have the pick of all of Australia, which again, we'll delve more into. But anywhere your heart desires, we can essentially get you work. We have offices pretty much all across the entire country, except for right in the middle, because much like North America, you know, our north doesn't have too much going on up there. The center of Australia is very similar, so to speak. We have a lot of similarities with Australia already. So hopefully that'll make your journey and your move over a little bit more seamless too. Lots of work available from supply work. We call that casual relief teaching in Australia. But supply or substitute work is available as early childhood educators, as well as permanent opportunities. So we'll make sure we get into that. How can you actually secure a role? You know, we're going to pack up your suitcases and get you on your way, but we're going to also help you land and secure the right role and the right fit for you. So you're not just going to get over there and not really know what's going on. We're going to help you with every step of that process. What is it like to work in Australian schools? The compliance and the requirements and the things and the paperwork and the process and all the nitty gritty that we're going to help you with. We'll touch on that, but there'll be many opportunities to be able to discuss this further with either myself or Victoria here in Canada before you start making the jump in the journey when you get overseas. And like I said, questions will be saved till the end. So just quickly, who is ANZ UK? We have been in operation for 20 years, actually as of very, very recently. So we're really excited about that. We staff over 300 people globally. We have offices all across the world, really. I was fortunate enough to visit one along with the Australian one. So I've almost made it across all Australian or all ANZ UK offices at this point, but we have 21 offices globally here in Australia, UK, New Zealand, and in Europe as well. So there's always somebody in your time zone that can speak to you and help you with certain things. But the reason that we exist and to North American standards, I guess, would be most compared to a school board. So here in North America, we have school boards, and school boards help you get jobs. You apply to your school board in your region, and your school board is who's helping you land and find and source these jobs in school settings. It's a little bit different in Australia, and maybe this makes our life a little bit easier. Teaching agencies are very much a thing, so you'll apply to us. We act as your pretty much go-to. We have an app. You'll be working with a consultant who becomes your consultant throughout the entire time that you are abroad, and they'll be who's calling you either in the morning or placing you in different roles and settings in education. So again, if there's any questions, even just about, what is a teaching agency? Why do you exist? Please do ask those questions. You can ask live in the chat as well, because there will be one of us who'll be monitoring that. So please feel free to use the chat throughout. We want to make sure this is as much as a conversation as we possibly can, and not just us, kind of talking the whole time. This is for you at the end of the day.
Can I just
we
add
have,
to that, Olivia, as well? If that's all right?
please, we'd love
Yeah.
that.
And so part of what Olivia was explaining then is the old days of, you going around to services, schools or wherever you want to work and handing out a resume, that's kind of obsolete now. So the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, a lot of these countries now are moving more towards recruitment agencies. So they're investing money into agencies because they're able to find exceptional candidates and great people to work for their organizations or schools quicker than the organization can do themselves. The benefit of that is they're spending less resources and time finding people, and then what we can do on your behalf is, as Olivia said, as we represent you, we have a background and understanding and a great relationship with each education establishment, so we know what each place is looking for. So the two main benefits of that is, first of all, we can negotiate your salaries. So if you're not sure, what kind of pay you're looking for, what the market rate is, that's the information that we hold, and we can say, actually, we think you're being underpaid. This is what we think you should be looking at. And no one likes to have those awkward conversations about salary. It's awkward. No one likes talking about it, but we will do that for you, and we will push for you to get paid higher. We'll also negotiate your, benefits. So if you want 5 or extra weeks holiday, or you want to do 4 days a week, etc., we'll do all that for you. And another added benefit is that we also know the establishments, we know the education settings. So what you might go into a service and think, oh my God, this place is amazing, I really want to work here. But behind the scenes, you might not realize there's a lot of staff turnover because maybe the management has changed or the principals changed, etc. And right now it's not really a cohesive environment. So we can actually give you that information to help you make the right decision. So that's just another benefit. I just want to jump in there and say that.
No, and that's perfect and so helpful as well. And it kind of relates right back to here and what our promise is as an agency as well. We're looking for those exceptional educators, but we're also looking for the right educator to place in the right place and at the right time. We have the flexibility, we have the connections and the networks made already built with these institutions to be able to place you in the right schools. What might be a right school for Victoria might not be a right setting for myself. And that's why we set you up with a consultant from the start, just so we can make sure that, we're really getting to know you as an educator, so that at the end of the day, we can successfully support these students and children and make a difference in their lives, because we do, even as daily supplies going in. Why teach abroad? I always say, and I literally say this in every single one of my webinars and discussions that I lead, I just want to add the little hat at the top. And why not teach abroad? Like, this is something that, your qualifications here in North America, they can really simply translate over into somewhere like Australia, even the UK, even New Zealand. That's why we exist again. Not only are you going to grow personally, like, it's a working holiday visa for what you're going to be getting and to be able to work there. It's in the name. It's a working holiday. We want you to work. We want you to make some money, but we want you to be able to travel and see and experience life somewhere else, even just outside of the four walls of your classroom. So that was something that I loved the most. This how the school year is set up to, like Griff was saying. There's some flexibility in your schedule because we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your whole time there. Career development. This is something great that you can add to a CV or resume. It will really set you apart in interviews from other candidates. Not many people or educators maybe will have this background, have experience working with another curriculum, have experience working with a different group of children. Because at the end of the day, yes, Australia is English speaking, but there are many, many differences that can then be translated back if you do come back to Canada or North America or what have you. And the life experience. Like I said, get out there, work, but see. I was fortunate enough to see almost all of Australia. The only place I didn't make it was to that center part, even though the next time I go back, that is definitely somewhere that I'm going to visit because it's an amazing country. So much so, like I said, like Victoria, this is our job now. This is our full-time job, is to help educators like you make the journey to build an adventure like this. And that's truly what it is. So yeah, let us help you with this adventure, and you can live in arguably one of the most beautiful places in the world, still my favorite place in the world. And that is obviously Australia. So while you're making the transition and before I hand it over, you'll need a right to work in Australia, which is something that will help you through. We're looking at your qualifications. So as an early childhood educator, you will be accredited through something called a CEQA, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And your teaching registration as well. So depending on the state that you're working in, there's different specifics based on your level of qualification and certification. But again, we'll delve into that. This will not be the only conversation that we have about this. Following our webinar, we will invite you to interviews and submitting your resumes and things like that. So you'll have more opportunities to have that one-on-one discussion and just get the information that is best suited for yourself. All right, I'm going to pass it over to our Aussie representative, even though he has a different accent.
Thank you. So I suppose the first thing, obviously once you guys decide that you want to move to Australia, great. The first thing you should be doing and thinking about, other than your flights and where you're potentially going, is registering for your CEQA. So this is the National Quality Framework, basically. So they will take any qualification from overseas and they will assess that qualification and essentially give you like a driving license as well, which they partner with the VIT and the NESA in each state. So a CEQA will basically say, yes, this person can teach in Australia. That's the first step. Now that can take, even here it says take up to 10 weeks. I've known it to take longer. I cannot stress how much to get this sorted before you start in Australia. With so many times we have educators coming out to Australia and then they're like, oh, don't worry about it, it's fine, I'll do it when we get there. And I'm like, I told you it's going to take 10 weeks. And then they've got no work for 10 weeks. So obviously you can still work in, a bar or do whatever you want. And that's fine. But if you wanted to work in education specifically, please get onto this and do this as soon as possible. Just they're really helpful. They will tell you everything you need to know. I'm sure Olivia and Victoria will help you out as well. But that is absolutely the first step. They will assess your qualification to tell you if you are equivalent of this is early childhood specific, by the way. So an ECT, a diploma, a Cert 3. They won't necessarily tell you if you're an OSH educator because each state is different. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, Australia is built up of different states and territories. So it's kind of similar to like, I suppose, Canada or USA. There's different sections of the country, and the easy thing would to be makes everything consistent across all states, but as governments like to do, they like to make things more complicated. So each state has different rules and regulations, unfortunately. So whereas you might be granted as an ECT in Queensland, you might not be in New South Wales or Victoria. So it's really important to understand that and have that. So I'm from what Olivia and Victoria have told me as well, a lot of you are probably dual qualified as well. So you probably will be working as maybe primary or secondary school teachers as well, but you have the qualifications for early childhood. We work across both. So we do have schools, we do have early childhood. We're massive across Australia. So, and we do have offices in every state, so we can help you out with all those. Sorry, I've got a phone call. I'm trying to put myself under the stuff. I've got phone calls coming through. Obviously, we will help you with your working holiday visa or any information you need with that. So you will get a 1 year to live in Australia, and you can do farm work, I believe, to top that up for 2 years. When I first came to Australia, I did my farm work as well. I did my 60 days, I think it was back then, of farm work. And it's interesting, but like the people you meet are incredible. Like, I'm still friends with all those people now. Like, we picking oranges and grapes and stuff for interesting job, but I had a great time in the end.
Usually it's worth getting another year overseas, definitely. So something that we can definitely unpack in the interview and what that might look like for you and what the opportunities might be. There's picking opportunities. There are some further opportunities now in the regional work that you're able to do. So if staying beyond the year is on your radar, definitely let us know in the initial chat so we can make sure that we set you up for the proper visa and the proper work to be done to get the next visa. But I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I came to Australia. I was here for a couple of friends of mine said, come to Australia, see it. And I literally was here for 2 weeks. And I did my farm work straight away. I was like, I don't want to leave Australia. Like, I never went back to the UK. So it's a pretty amazing lifestyle out here, and I do recommend at least coming out and having at least a year out here. So there is the option for you guys as well as skilled workers to come out. So if you are, your bachelor qualifications are assessed as early childhood teacher or primary secondary, there is sponsorship opportunities out here as well. That's something that we can unpack a bit more with you individually. There's different opportunities depending on which states you're in. Obviously, the more high risk areas in terms of they don't have a lot of educators or a lot of people there, like the regional areas, there's more opportunities to get sponsored because the government are trying to move people into those areas. So there is those opportunities. Next slide, please, Olivia. All right, so just as I touched on before, unfortunately, each state is slightly different. First step is a CEQA. They will tell you what qualification you've got, what you can teach as. That's absolutely the priority for you guys if you're serious about coming out to Australia. Then you need a state-specific working with children's check. So this is one of the annoying ones that, instead of just having a working with children's check that works across the whole of Australia, each state likes to make you pay for a different one. And I don't understand it. It's ridiculous. It just needs to be one check for everyone in Australia, but it's people in power making silly decisions, right? So New South Wales has working with children's check, Victoria has their own one. Queensland has a blue card. So depending on where you want to go, it'll be a different one. Now, to make it more complicated as well, or more not complicated, more annoying, I suppose, certain states you can apply for it in advance. So you can apply from it overseas, like Victoria or Melbourne, for instance. You can apply for that whilst you're overseas, whereas like Sydney or New South Wales, you actually have to be on ground here because you have to go into a government service building, and they take a picture of you and they'll go through it with you. So there is a bit of, depending on where you're going, again, we can give you all that information once we know where you're heading to. Once you've got that working with children's check, you can then apply for state-specific teaching accreditation. So if you are And I'll just rewind a second. Within the early childhood sector in Australia, you've got three different levels. You've got Certificate 3, Diploma, and ECT. And obviously, schools is a bit more simplified, primary, secondary. But if you are a teacher across secondary, primary, or early childhood, each state has a different teaching accreditation as well. So like New South Wales, it's called NESA accreditation. Melbourne or Victoria, it's called VIT. So again, don't worry about the complexities of what they're called. We'll give you all that information. Olivia's nodding, so I'm guessing that's happening. Yeah. So we'll give you all of that, but just for now, if you're serious about it, just the secret is the main thing you should be doing right now. And next one, please. Yeah, so I spoke about before, Victoria. We have Victoria is actually our biggest office, I suppose. That was our primary office here. That was a head office. We're massive there. We probably have about 75 to 80% of the market there. So if you're moving to Melbourne and you are looking for work, you will absolutely have work for you pretty much 5 days a week if you're looking to do casual relief teaching. Every state's in a different level of kind of its growth. So Victoria is 1000% the best place to go if you run consistent work as a teacher or early childhood educator. Sydney, where I am, is the second, followed by that. But we can offer you permanent roles in all of these states as well. Permanent roles are actually pretty easy for us to do, even remotely as well. So as I said before, we can help you negotiate salaries. We can tell you about the different environments, and we are experts in Australia. We know, I mean, even myself, I've probably been out to 1,200 different early childhood centres just in Sydney. So I know a huge, yeah. So I know a lot of the directors. I know what the services are like. I know what the pedagogy is like. So we do really want to make sure that when we're helping you find a role, that we make sure it's the place that you are going to stay because you enjoy it and you feel connected and passionate about that place. We're not just going to throw you into any old school and wish for the best. Like we're going to make the right decision for you guys. So there's a bit of information there, but just to flick, as Olivia's flicking in the background, just to explain what kind of we do across the different states. Again, always speak to us if you think you're going to go to a certain state. We can give you a bit more specific information about that state itself. Okay, benefits of casual work. So we, as an agency, we do permanent work and casual. So we will help a lot of services and schools find educators day to day. That's not to say that you won't be pre-booked. A lot of our educators are pre-booked months in advance. So you're kind of essentially working there permanently, but being paid as a casual. So you're getting paid a lot more money as well. And then you've got the flexibility to say, actually, I don't want to work today. And it's like, you're casual, fine, whatever. So you get a lot of flexibility working casual. And the market here, there's a lot of casual educators. We do have an app that you can log on to daily and weekly and just choose your availability. So if you decide, you want to go traveling for a couple of weeks, pop it in your calendar, no questions asked, go have fun. That being said, if you did want to travel around Australia, as long as you've got the new work and maturity check within each state, we can have you working. You could be traveling to 3 different states across 4 different weeks, and then we could have you working in 3 different states. Like, we have a program where you can work and travel with ANZUK as well across Australia. So we do all the hard work. All you've got to do is just get different work and maturity check, and we do all the rest on our side. We do referral bonuses. So if you come across any amazing educators, good people like to refer good people, right? So if you refer any educators across to us, we recognize that and reward that and say, thank you for spending the time on doing that for us. And we will obviously give you a referral bonus. And it's about $100. All the consultants at ANZUK as well, not all, 95% of us have all worked in education before. So we've all been teachers. We know what it's like. We identify, empathize with you guys. So, and you can generally give some great constructive feedback, etc. as well. I can see some questions coming through, which I'm sure Olivia will answer me in a second. We do a lot of networking events as well. So that's not just with the clients, it's with the clients as being our schools and our childhood centres. We will do lots of, we get all the educators together basically, and it's just an excuse for us all to have a drink together, which we love. So, but it's a great opportunity for you guys to kind of meet each other, you know, talk about the different centres you've been at. You know, sometimes casual work can be quite lonely as well if you're not set in a group of a team that you're working with consistently. So it's nice to form those. We just love the party. Sometimes it's great, the pizza and the drink. So,
I wonder why you stayed.
No comment. And a great thing is it expands your skill set. Like you get to experience so many different situations. There's so many different schools, environments as well. Because we're such a massive force in Australia, we do work with a lot of really high quality services, including independent schools. I'm not sure if they call them private or is not in Canada. Like, yeah, your really affluent schools, which are very much worldwide known. Like they're very exclusive schools, and these places are amazing to get some experience at. They pay considerably higher than the average school as well. And we do work with, I would say, we're the biggest supplier of independent schools across Australia. So partnering with us, you will have automatically more of an in with those schools because they know us, they have relationships with us, and they trust that we work with the better educators. It kind of covers perm opportunities. You know, we will do that for you. We will go in and fight for you. And they've been what we've been working on over the last. I started Sydney with my colleague Simon, and what we even in Sydney we've been working on for the last 7 years is building relationships with schools, so they trust us enough that if I put a resume in front of them, they will interview that person. They will say, okay, I trust Griff enough that he's given me great people before, he knows what he's looking for. That's the benefit of you using us. Whereas if you send your resume into a service, they're probably like, I don't know who this person is, but we will back you and find the right player. So that's the benefit of using us again. Yep, you guys are probably sick of my voice. I do like to talk, so by the way. So
no, this is awesome information. But this is probably some information that we're most intrigued about and probably got a lot of questions surrounding was obviously the pay.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pay goes up yearly as well. So obviously end of financial year, the awards change in Australia every year. So New South Wales, sorry, not New South Wales, I've got to stop thinking New South Wales, but the teaching awards nationally go up for all levels of qualifications, etc. So they do generally increase every year. The outside school hours care is slightly different per state as well, because some states you need to have a qualification, some states you don't need to have a qualification. But that's roughly where that sits, between $34 to $41 an hour. Again, state specific. With early childhood, you've got your Cert 3 diploma rate. So that's what you'll get paid hourly. So you're 34 to 36 for Cert 3, and then diploma is 40 to 41. Now, one thing that was great that came into Australia was the teaching. They started recognizing early childhood teachers as actual teachers. There was a lot of push from, there was lobbying from a lot of groups in Australia trying to make sure that they were recognized as ECTs and actual teachers, because the conditions are very different. The government has finally recognized that, and now ECTs get paid. You don't get paid per hour, you get paid a daily rate, and it's in line with what primary and secondary school teachers get paid. So this is, it's $349 for a day. But that goes up in 5 levels as well. So the more experience you've got, the more you'll get paid. And then you get paid, you can only work for 2 hours, 4 hours, or 7.6 hours as well. So let me just double, because the end of the financial year has just come in, so that has just recently changed. But does that answer the questions about pay and stuff for people? Yeah.
So pretty much too, and how these levels are going to work for us while we're getting accredited as well, is once you're going through the ASEQA process, we'll be able to accredit you based on what level of certification and qualification that you have. So you're going to know what you are going to be making. And these are the settings that we'll be able to place you in. But this is something, this will be common knowledge to you. Right now, all of these terms might not mean anything, but based on your level of qualification, so what you studied, how many years you studied, what degree you received, as well as your practicum or placement hours, how much volunteer essentially that you did for your schooling, because majority of our programs essentially in North America as well will have that paired or coupled with the programming. So we will go through this. There is a checklist for us to go through ASEQA. They're super helpful as well in getting you accredited, but you are going to know what your certification level is once you're accredited through ASEQA.
Yeah. And what the states also do, particularly New South Wales and Victoria, once you get your accreditation, whether it's NESA in New South Wales or a VIT in Victoria, it's basically, they give you like a driving license essentially. So it's kind of a provisional driving license where they say, right, you're a teacher. They want to see you have professional development as well. So you can log all that professional development, which we also help with as well. So we will actually provide courses and extracurricular stuff that will add towards your hours, and they will then assess you as proficient. So it's like you passing a driving test. You go on your P plates, and then you pass your driving test, and then you go on your green P or whatever that is in Canada. Don't know what the same is, but we will help you with all that as well down the track. But I'm probably just feeding information now that you don't need to know, but we will help you all of that anyway.
I think we have 2 more to go.
Yep. Okay. So CRT is obviously, this slide's probably more geared to more primary, secondary school teachers, all kind of the same information I was giving you before. Depending on, it says guaranteed 5 days a week there. Again, state dependent. New South Wales, so Sydney and Victoria, absolutely we can within schools. Like, we've got so much work. Early childhood, we can across New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, WA, and SA, because there's a heap of work around. Again, they use the Ready to Work app as well, so you can log on, choose your availability, you can approve all your timesheets on there, all the documents are in there for you. I kind of already mentioned all this, but relationships with networks of schools, opportunity to move to contract role. With schools, they have a lot more contract roles because they feel like term 3, term 4 contracts where, and they generally lead to kind of like long-time employment or permanent work as well. But there's a lot of contract work that goes through the school. So if you think you can consider or commit to a contract, then that's something we can help you with as well once you're on the ground here. I've probably stepped ahead, haven't I? And I've probably explained a lot of this already through my chatting. But how am I going to organize private Zoom? Yeah, so if we are looking at, I suppose, I've already talked a little about the permanent side already, but if you are wanting to if you have your ASEQA assessed already in Canada and you're done, you've got everything ready to go, and you're looking for a permanent role straight away, right, for the day you land in Australia, we have a team on the ground here that can actually organize, the same team I spoke about before who work with the independent schools. They will meet with you, they will talk to a school, they can do, they can organize Zooms with you as well prior. We essentially want to be a one-stop shop for you guys to help you on your career. And we've got many amazing impact stories of how we've had someone from Canada go to Australia. They've done a couple of days casual work. They've gone into a permanent role. They've then gone to the UK with us and worked there for 2 years. They've then come back to Australia. Then they've become a consultant at ANZ UK because they wanted to help other educators on this amazing journey. So we really want to help you with all of that. And as we expand globally, why not travel and work as a teacher and be a citizen of the world? Like, I know if I wasn't working as a consultant here, I'd be doing the same thing.
Back to the why not? Why not travel and teach abroad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So before I think this pretty much wraps it up. This is just a recap of what we offer through ANZ UK. Obviously, this webinar has been catered and geared to early childhood. educators, but we also support teachers. So if you know a teacher, again, that referral bonus can apply to you as well. Primary, secondary school teachers, support staff, so TAs and educational assistants. We can support you in making the journey over. OSHC, so similar to before and after school care. YMCA, for those of us who know of that within schools, some opportunity through there. And then again, like mentioned, opportunities within the company as well. We're always growing, and a lot of us first started as educators. But I'm going to throw it to Victoria. We have a few slides left. Thank you guys for holding on. Victoria, for some of the fun stuff that ANZ UK offers that is maybe different than other agencies, and what I
Perfect.
loved the most, honestly.
Absolutely. I agree. This is one of the, I think Griff already kind of mentioned this, and we went over it already, but the community that ANZ UK really is seeking to provide is one of the biggest pulls, one of the biggest reasons that I went with them. We're hosting regular social events, both on the ground in your home country, as well as the country where you're going to go teach. So if you are local here to Canada, we're looking to host ones this summer in Toronto, in Kingston, Montreal, Vancouver. So we always want to get out and meet educators before they go. And then once you're actually over there, there's going to be social events running in the country as well, so you can meet other educators, meet people who are living there. We've got a Facebook group for all of our educators to join and everything, and you can always follow us on Instagram as well to find out about everything going on. Brianna, I know you just asked about, oh, sorry, Olivia, can you go next? I'm hitting next on my own screen and realizing it's not changing for everyone else. I know you asked about costs. It's really hard to try and break down the costs ahead of time because it's going to be so dependent on each person, where they're looking to go. Flights are going to be very dependent on where you are, where you're going, time of year. I always say Google Flights is going to be an amazing reference if you want just an idea of how much flights are going to cost from your location. As far as housing goes, finding somewhere to live, this is probably one of the main questions that we get from our educators going abroad. And this is something that we're happy to help guide you and provide you assistance with. So we always recommend going over, getting a hostel, getting an Airbnb, subletting a room, and going to actually source a place in person. That way you can, see it in real life. You're avoiding any scams, any weird business, and just finding the right place for you. We often say renting is probably going to be the easiest way to go, especially if you can move in with housemates. That way you don't necessarily need to be signing on for a year-long tenancy agreement. You can be taking over the room for someone else. But there definitely are options for solo if you are, maybe someone who's a little bit older, you care for your own space a bit more and it's really important to you. You can find that as well. Melbourne and Sydney are going to be competitive areas for housing. But you just have to do your research. You have to be active in the job search. It's just going to be like any major city here in Canada. You have to be active and proceed that way. And we are happy to act as a referee for rentals. If you've signed on to our ambassador contract, which is our guaranteed work contract, and we're happy to talk about that, or if you have a position signed on. There's a few Facebook groups, our personal Facebook group, the Moving to Australia, and then flatmates.com, Fairy Floss is a Facebook group. I know Facebook groups might seem a little outdated, but believe me, this is like a huge way that Australians find housing and find housemates. So a really, really good way if you are looking for housing. I know this is a lot of information. We're here to walk you through all of this closer too. So just to give you an idea, these are how we recommend people find their spots to live, but we'll help you through all this closer too. Oh, awesome. And these are just a few more things that we can provide to you. Area guides. So we've got a few different area guides depending on the different suburbs that you're going to be living in, and recommending which ones are going to be best, average rent, what to do. And then as far as getting around, again, this is going to depend greatly where you're living. Public transport in Metro Sydney as well as Melbourne is going to be amazing. Great way to get around, great way to see the city, great way to get to work. Biking is also an amazing option. If you're going to be living out in regional Australia, maybe a less metropolitan area, a car is probably going to be the way that you have to go. But if you are living in the city and surrounding areas, Melbourne and Sydney are both huge city centers. The public transit really is miles and miles and miles ahead what we're used to here in Canada. And it really is a reliable way to get to and from work and get to and from activities without the need of getting a car. Awesome. So I'll just dive into the process. I know we've thrown a lot of information at you, and of course, this information is going to be different depending on what passport you hold, what visa you need, what your education was, what you're looking to do, and that's where the initial contact is going to come through. So everyone will receive an email from Olivia or myself with the webinar recording, so you can go back and watch again, but we can set up a call to talk about your specific circumstances and talk about the route for you to go. Once we do that, we'll go through the whole registration process. You'll be contacted from one of our consultants in Australia. So as we mentioned, we've got a few different offices depending on where you're looking to go. One of the consultants will give you a call and they'll be their touch point from once you've got your flight books all the way up through your time in Australia. You'll get to actually go and meet them, and they'll be your best point of contact on the ground. Our compliance team is also going to make sure that you have everything that you need to be compliant. So getting any transcripts done, making sure your visa is processed correctly, police checks, fingerprint checks for Canada. So everything that needs to be done legally, compliance-wise, we're going to make sure is taken care of before you are in Australia. As Griff mentioned, we don't want you sitting there waiting 10 weeks for your CEQA to come through when we could have had it done months prior. And then we have the registration process. As I mentioned, this is kind of can be swapped around. Can we tell it's 8:15? But we'll have your flights booked. We'll have a travel plan created for you. We'll have everything ready to go. We'll make sure that you are cleared for work. So you've gone through the compliance. We've done everything we can do on the North American side here, and you're all cleared for work into Australia. You'll fly over. As I said, you'll meet with your global consultant on the ground. And the support doesn't end there. You still always have access to your team here in Canada, but the team in Australia is going to take care of everything you need. They also have professional development, fun events, as we mentioned, and all that good stuff. I think we have one more. We really talked about all of this, so I'll run through super quick. Why teach and travel with ANZ UK? We've got support across the globe. We have so many offices, including offices here in North America, there in Australia. We're here for you 360 degrees around. We've got visa services to make sure that everything happens properly with your visa. We have events, as I said, pre-departure, post-departure. Griff talked a bit about the app as well to easily manage your workload and always know where you're going, where you need to be. Affiliations, we also partner with some different travel groups. I know we partner with Contiki. So if you are looking for a little holiday, or maybe you just want to join a local footy club, we'd have great affiliations for you to work with there. And we also provide great resources and guides. As I mentioned with the housing, we have phenomenal resources for wherever you're going to be moving. To help everything that you need to know. We know this is a huge move and a huge step, and we really want to help break down all of those stages to make it as easy for you as we possibly can. I can see that the chat has been going a little bit crazy while I've been talking and I haven't gotten to read any of it. So I don't know if we have any questions that we need to address before we wrap up here.
I see a couple are coming through and we're doing our best on the side. Thanks, Griff, for helping out with those as well. Pretty much a lot of your questions are going to be circumstance based on yourself. So like we mentioned, especially with early childhood and getting to Australia, there's different levels of accreditation for the different levels of your programming. So we want to make sure that everything is going to transfer over. But again, that's what we're here for. So definitely get in contact with us. My email's there. You will hear from either myself or Victoria soon, tomorrow, very likely, with the recording from tonight, just if you want to revisit anything. But please don't hesitate. Send us an email. I will be sending out first contact forms attached to that email. That is like your saving grace. Please fill that form out. Get that back to me as soon as possible, because it will really be able to jumpstart the process for you, so we can start seeing how, how we can support you. We have a question.
Yeah,
This is a good
I
one.
can answer that, Brianna,
Yeah.
for you. So, recruitment agencies operate all over the world. Oh, it's not just Australia or UK. You have them in Canada and America as well. It's essentially when obviously companies or whatever that organization is struggling to find staff, right? So it depends on the market. It depends on what city you're in or what country you're in. Obviously, Australia is very, very, very far away from everywhere else in the world. So it's quite, they lose a lot of educators as well. They go traveling, and Australians generally can afford to go traveling. Like the wages in Australia outweigh the living costs, I think. And you'll generally find a lot of Australians like traveling, and there's always heaps of them in the UK. It's also about trying with a lot of the services and schools are fighting for educators. They're trying to find an amazing educator, and they're all putting ads up on Seek or Indeed, and they're all fighting for the same educators. Whereas what we do is we add new educators into that pool. So by us saying, hang on, you guys, you 6 schools are all trying to interview the same people, we're bringing in all this amazing talent from Canada and from UK and from America that other agencies and other schools don't have, because we're, as far as I know, the only global agency that does what we do. So whereas they're all using the same educators, we're adding new talent to Australia and increasing that. So it's another kind of recruitment tactic that we do. It benefits, you guys, you get to travel and experience new things. We're upskilling the workforce of teachers, you're getting better experiences. And I think it's that kind of that old thing of like, when people that travel outside of their country and go to a different country generally have a different mindset about them. So, even this is going to sound really bad what I'm going to say, but when I've been trying to recruit even consultants of inside Australia, we generally find that we get a better response from Canadians or Americans or English people, because they've come to Australia, they fought to get their visas, they fought to get on the plane, they've done all this stuff, that they've got a bit of resilience about them. So we generally find that overseas educators perform and do better in different countries because they've got something to prove. So it just, and I'm sure you guys will be the same. So it's about quality and adding. Does that answer your question, Brianna? I do like to waffle a bit sometimes, so.
No, and it definitely, the opportunity is there. So we're here to make you aware and jumpstart the process for you. These visas exist to allow people to travel across the globe. We're fortunate here in North America that our visas are able to transfer over based on our citizenship. So the opportunity is there, and we want to be able to support you living and working and being able to experience something new. And there's really, truly nothing like living and working in a place and being able to travel to new places every other weekend, seriously. But Darlene, I will be emailing out the form now. Look out for my email tomorrow. Like Victoria said, we're pushing 8:30. I don't know if my email will come in proper English if I send it right now, so I will definitely get to it before the end of the week. Tomorrow, you'll definitely hear from me likely. Check out for that form, get that into me as soon as possible, and we can schedule an interview at your earliest convenience. But thanks everybody for joining. That was really great. Your questions and engagement were amazing. We always love to hear from you throughout. If you have any other questions, please feel free to jot them down, send them in an email, and we can answer anything over the phone in our chats as well. But thanks so much, Griff. I don't know what time it is over there right now. Can't sort that out of my mind. I know what time it is over here, though.
It's coming up to lunchtime now, so.
It's lunchtime.
It's food time.
Here we go. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
chat to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.